The sky has always been a silent witness, a canvas of ancient light that humanity trusted to remain constant. But tonight, that trust is shattering. Far across the Orion constellation, a titan is screaming in a language only the James Webb Space Telescope can translate. Betelgeuse, the great red supergiant, the shoulder of the hunter, is no longer just a star. It has become a cosmic funeral pyre. For centuries, we watched its rhythmic pulse, a steady heartbeat of amber light. But something has changed. The Webb's infrared eyes have pierced through the shroud of stellar dust to reveal a chilling truth. The core has collapsed. The explosion isn't coming. In a relentless flow of space-time, it has already begun. As you look up tonight, you are watching a ghost. What Webb has found lurking in the radioactive haze isn't just the death of the sun. It's a warning that the architecture of our galaxy is shifting, and we are far closer to the blast zone than we ever dared to imagine. This is the story of the day the stars began to fall. The darkness of deep space is rarely truly empty, but around Betelgeuse, the void feels heavy, pregnant with the scent of impending catastrophe. The narrator observes the great star, a bloated, bruised entity that has ruled the winter sky for millions of years. It is a king on a crumbling throne. In the cold, unblinking eyes of the James Webb Space Telescope, the star no longer looks like a point of light. It looks like a weeping wound. Huge plumes of plasma, larger than our entire solar system, are being coughed into the vacuum, a desperate final gasp for air from a giant that has run out of fuel. The internal conflict of the star is a psychological tragedy written in nuclear physics. For eons, Betelgeuse maintained a delicate balance between the crushing weight of gravity and the outward fire of fusion. But the fire is fading. The narrator senses the star's fear, a systemic instability where the core shudders under the weight of its own existence. Scientists on Earth watch the data streams in hushed silence, realizing that the great dimming of years past wasn't a fluke. It was a pre-death seizure. The shadows on the star's surface move like ink in water, obscuring the truth of what lies beneath. As the Webb telescope zooms deeper, bypassing the dust clouds that blinded Hubble, it reveals a terrifying asymmetry. The star is lopsided, vibrating with a low-frequency hum that resonates through the sensors. It is the sound of a foundation cracking. The once proud hunter is losing its shape, dissolving into the very darkness it once held at bay. Every second, it sheds a mountain's worth of mass, a king throwing away his jewels because he knows he cannot take them into the grave. The data indicates a sudden, sharp spike in neutrino emissions, the final signal before the end. The core has shifted, but as the sensors dive deeper into the heart of the collapse, they detect something that shouldn't be there, a structure of light that defies every law of stellar evolution we have ever written. The atmosphere in the control rooms on Earth is suffocating, a mix of awe and cold, clinical dread. The James Webb has sent back a thermal map of the core, and the image is haunting. Deep within the convective layers of Betelgeuse, there is a hollow, a void where the heart should be. The narrator reflects on the loneliness of this giant. It has spent its life burning brighter than 10,000 suns, only to find itself utterly hollowed out in its final hour. The pressure of its identity as a North Star is failing. It can no longer hold the weight of its own legacy. The sensory details are overwhelming. The infrared feed glows with a sickly, bruised violet. We see the turbulent boiling of the star's surface, where bubbles of gas the size of Jupiter's orbit rise and pop, releasing screams of radiation into the abyss. There is a sense of mourning in the silence of the telescope's movement. Webb isn't just a camera. It is a historian recording the last will and testament of a celestial god. The scientists realize that the chilling discovery isn't just the explosion. It's the realization that the star is reacting to something external. The psychological weight shifts to humanity. For the first time, we aren't just looking at a distant light. We are looking at our own mortality reflected in the cosmos. If a titan like this can fall, what hope is there for the fragile blue marble we call home? The narrator describes the invisible hands of gravity pulling at the star, tearing it apart from the inside out, like a mind losing its grip on reality. The star's memory, the elements it forged over millions of years, is being prepared for a violent redistribution. The light begins to flicker, a rhythmic stutter that looks less like physics and more like a heartbeat flatlining on a monitor. Then the screen goes white, not from a glitch, but from a surge of energy so powerful it threatens to blind the most advanced instrument ever built. The explosion is not a single moment, but a slow-motion cascade of violence that redefines the meaning of power. The Webb telescope captures the first shockwave breaking through the stellar surface. The narrator describes the light as ancient and angry, a blinding white brilliance that would turn night into day on Earth. The psychological pressure reaches its peak. The star is finally let go. The guilt of its existence, the consumption of its own children, the planets that may have once circled it, is washed away in a cleansing fire of iron and nickel. The visual of the supernova is a masterpiece of horror and beauty. A shell of radioactive cobalt expands at a fraction of the speed of light, shredding the space-time fabric around it. The narrator focuses on the silence of the blast. There is no sound in space, only the terrifying visual of a sun turning inside out. We see the shadows of nebulae being burned away, the light of the explosion casting long, ghostly silhouettes across the Orion molecular cloud. The scientists are paralyzed. The data suggests the chilling part of the discovery, the trajectory of the high-energy particles. The supernova isn't just a light show. It is a cannon shot aimed directly into the neighborhood of our sun. The protective cocoon of our heliosphere is about to be tested by the dying breath of a giant. The narrator reflects on the irony. The very star we use for navigation for thousands of years has now become the greatest threat to our electronic silence. The brilliant light begins to fade into a dense, glowing nebula, leaving behind a scarred sky. But as the dust settles, the Webb telescope detects a signature at the center of the debris that makes the lead researchers drop their headsets in disbelief. The aftermath is a graveyard of light. Where a king once stood, there is now only a jagged, glowing scar, a supernova remnant that will haunt the Orion constellation for 1,000 generations. But the James Webb has found the rebirth in the darkness. At the center of the wreckage sits a neutron star, a city-sized diamond of such density that a single teaspoon would weigh more than Mount Everest. The narrator describes this new entity as a cold, hard ghost, a being with no warmth, only a magnetic field that screams into the dark. The psychological arc concludes with a sense of grim legacy. Betelgeuse is gone, but its atoms, the carbon in our bones, the iron in our blood, are being scattered to the winds of the galaxy. It had to die so that new worlds could eventually be born. The chilling discovery is finally laid bare. Webb found that the explosion has triggered a star formation wave. The death of one giant is the traumatic birth of 1,000 smaller suns. We are watching the gears of the universe grind, and the sound is one of profound, terrifying renewal. The narrator closes with a reflection on the night sky. When viewers look up after watching this, the shoulder of the hunter will never look the same. They will see not a star, but a ticking clock. The identity of humanity is tied to these cycles of fire and ash. We are the witnesses to the transition. The James Webb Space Telescope continues its silent patrol, turning its lens toward the next tragedy, the next birth, leaving us to wonder when our own sun will begin its long, slow walk into the shadows. The screen fades to black, leaving only the faint, rhythmic pulse of the new pulsar, the heartbeat of a ghost.